All right, yeah, so let me move this out of the way. Yeah, so I recorded the whole lesson yesterday, and in the process of like editing it to get it ready for YouTube, the save file just, so I couldn't even use it for anything after that. So we're going to try this again. But anyway, first things first, while we're down here, please don't forget that you have the probability lab due tonight. All right, get down there. And oh boy, yeah, got a couple of you that need to get that done. And I'm being sarcastic, over half of you need to get that done. Okay, it's due tonight. Next, okay, this is like zoomed out on the recording because I'm trying to do everything from here. Go up here where it says fall late start schedule. All right, we're going to go over this just one more time just to make sure everybody knows what's coming up. Okay, so right now we are, well, shoot, what did I just hit? I swear. What on earth did I just do? Oh, gosh. This is just going to be one of them weeks where there ain't nothing working. Like, not a thing. Oh, gosh. Unfortunately, here lately, it seems to be every week that happens. Okay, so let me get back to where I was at. All right, so we're right here this week, right? We're going to be going over probability or statistics in probability 3. It's really not that bad. It's just kind of wrapping everything up that we've been doing and kind of going back and hitting scatter plots. But we're also later this week going to review for the test. Okay, so just make sure that you have any questions that you might have, that you bring those to class. Next week, all right, so next week, this will open, but so will this one right here, okay? Because, you know, I try not to have 2 sections worth of assignments open if it's not a fast track or anything like that. So what's going to happen is next week for the 14 and 16 week classes, this will be the only assignment that's open next week is the test. But we're going to go ahead and start talking about linear functions in class next week. The linear functions assignments will not be open, just the lesson and the material and the notes and everything. The assignment for linear functions will not open. On the 18th, however, the assignments for both of those will open up. Okay, so yeah, you will have sort of 2 sections worth of stuff, but I mean they go together, and it's kind of a sprint to the finish, right? Because those 2 are our last 2 lessons, our last 2 regular assignments. There is not a test for this section because we just don't have time. When I added the linear section, it was because it needed to be in there and it wasn't there when I inherited these classes. So I just kind of threw it in there, and then I got to, you know, planning it out. I was like, well, I can split this up into 2 separate lessons to make it easier, or I can cram it all into one hard lesson and have a test. So I decided just to split it up, all right, which I think y'all would not be opposed to not having another test for that, right? Unless you just really want one, which I don't know too many like that. So just to rehash, all right, this week, Statistics and Probability 3 opened yesterday. It'll be due on the 12th. On Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday classes will be reviewing for the test. The test opens next week, but next week we will also start talking about linear functions. All right, I just didn't feel like redoing my schedule again. So I'm just going to put it on the video. Make sense? And then on the 18th, we will go over linear and nonlinear, and then have the assignments for both linear functions and linear and nonlinear comparison together. And then, of course, we got Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, we've only got one more week of in-person meetings. All right? And that week, we will be doing 2 days worth of final review. Now, the way that I do final review is to put it, give you the short version, it's crowdsourced. I'm not going to go back and reteach everything that we've done all year, okay? You need to bring that week anything that you have a question about. Maybe it's something that you didn't do too good on. I've had several folks that turned something in on time, but it wasn't that great, and they requested a redo. I put it in, and they got the same exact grade twice. And I've had that happen across several classes. So if that happened to you, and if both grades were poor, yeah, bring that one to class. All right, so what we'll do is the first class of that week will cover, the first half of the material, and then the second class will cover the second half. So wherever your questions fall within that meeting, just, save it for then. And then the finals open on the 9th, and they close on the 10th. We will not be meeting that week. Also, this is the only week, or this is the only assignment where you're not going to have 8 days to get it done. You're only going to have 7, which, I have had people not be able to take the final in a week's time, which I do not comprehend. And I like to think that I'm pretty smart. I just don't know how that happens. So, anyway, any questions about the upcoming schedule? Don't have much left. Like I said, it's a sprint to the finish, and we'll get you there. A couple other things as we're wrapping up. Do not forget that Thursday, November the 7th, is the last day to withdraw from any 14 and 16 week class. All right, including this one. Not that I'm, encouraging that, but if we're looking at a situation where maybe you've missed a lot of assignments and you don't think that you're going to be able to get your grade pulled up, maybe you've got a lot of absences and you haven't gotten me documentation that shows that they need to be excused, any kind of thing that according to the syllabus would put you at risk of being administratively withdrawn, make sure that we can kind of avoid that, all right, one way or another. Okay, enough gloom and doom. All right, Statistics and Probability Lab 3. This is the only lab that we have that still has an old assignment that I used to have on all of them called a work entry, all right? Every single assignment that we've done so far used to have a work entry. The problem was when you get to have like 96, 97 students across all your classes, and you're having to, look at their handwritten work and stuff, that doesn't take as long as when what eventually happens is you're having to look at their handwritten work and make sure that they're not cheating off of each other. And that drove me to insanity. Like I was about ready to put my head through a wall. So to save time, I just took all that out. But with this one, since you need to make a scatter plot, I left it in. All right. So we'll look at that here in a minute. First, though, go over to the textbook. If you've still got that saved, I hope you do. So go over to the textbook, and we're going to go to part 3 again. And we're going to go back to chapter 5, and we're going to go to 5E, correlation and causality, which is where the scatter plot stuff was. And we're just going to go all the way to the end. In hindsight, it might have been easier to go to 6A and scroll up, but well, we're already in it now. Okay, go to page 380 of the document. You see the document number up there at the top of the PDF where it says 380/760. If you want to just type that in, that'll take you right to the page you need to be at. All right. Then, what we're going to do is I've picked 3 questions out of the textbook that we're going to put into an Excel file, and I'm going to show you how to pull the graph there, and I'll show you how to do it in Google Sheets. Now, if you already know how to do it, great. If the person beside you does not, help them. All right? So the first one we're going to put in to the spreadsheet is number 25. All right? The table below gives a 2012 per capita gross domestic product and the per capita spending on defense for 8 developed countries. Now, again, I am no economics major or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure gross domestic product is how much money that they bring in off of stuff they sell, right? Roughly. So you're comparing, I'm sure somebody that is an economics major is going to be watching this video and be like, that's not right. Well, probably not, but we're just going to go with it anyway. So how much money they bring in compared to how much money they spend on defense. All right? So take about 2-3 minutes and go ahead and on the first sheet of your spreadsheet, go ahead and enter all that information from the book, if you don't mind. Here, I'll zoom it in so the folks in the back can see it a little better. All right, can everybody see that now? William, Abigail, Hillary, can y'all see that? All right, good. Well, I guess I should have asked Kylie because geometrically she's the furthest one away from the screen. Can you see it? All right. Oh. Well, I guess you could see it better if I didn't have my big chair in the way. You can use that computer.
I would, but I don't know my Moodle information. It's saved on my desktop. I know. I'm sorry.
Shame. 10 Hail Marys and 5 Hello Dollies for your transgression. No, I'm just kidding. I've got everything saved in my Chrome too. But it's very, very secure. So if anybody watching the video tries to do anything, they'll be met with swift justice. All right. Yeah, this table isn't very long, so once you get that put in there, and make sure that you get the headings put in there too, and we'll show you how to handle all that. So take about, I guess about another minute or so, and we'll show you how to do it. And like I said, again, if you've already learned how to do all this, that's great. Just if you look around and you see somebody else that doesn't know how to get the chart on this to pull up, help them out. Doing this lesson, I've found that there are, Excel tends to be one of those things where you know how to use it or maybe you don't. Not everybody learns how to do it in school,
Especially depending on when you went to high school.
Right. Yep. Luckily, I was able to catch it.
Did you?
But not till high school.
Really?
Or, well, I guess it would have been middle school. Yeah.
We didn't learn Excel.
Really?
Of course, I graduated high school 2014, so 2013, so 11 years ago.
I don't know if I want to say when I graduated high school.
I know, I was like, it's probably obvious that I'm not the same age as these people because everyone has a laptop and I came with a notebook.
Well, I would have showed up with a notebook too, so let's just say it was a lot sooner than 2014 when I graduated high school.
Yeah, my friend said you were her 8th grade math teacher. And you're her teacher now, she said.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Drea?
Oh.
Andrea?
Oh yeah, Andrea
Andrea.
Peters. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I never called her Drea. I just always called her Andrea.
Yeah.
All right, everybody got this typed in? All right, so there's several ways to get the scatter chart to show up. Scatter plot, listen to me, good God. Several ways to get the scatter plot to show up. First thing you got to do with all of it, though, is you got to highlight this. All right. Now, once you got it highlighted, several ways you can go about it. First, if you notice, there is a little icon that pops up down at the bottom called Quick Analysis. And when you click on that, if you can't see it, here, let me scroll this up a little bit. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, it's down there at the bottom right corner of your highlighted data. So once you've got that highlighted, that'll pop up, and it comes up with a bunch of options that you can do to either the cells or the backgrounds or anything like that. So if you want to format the cells, if you want to put in like let's say, oh crap, that's about how this week is going. Yeah, so you got data bars, you got colors, you got icons, things like that. We don't need any of that stuff because we're not really keeping this, right? We just need to go to charts. Now what it does is here it pulls up suggested charts that most people have used with this type of data because, you know, Microsoft collects your data, blah, blah, blah. So from this, you can go to Scatter, get your chart, and when you click on it, it'll just pop it right in there. Now I'm going to zoom this out a little bit because that's kind of it's kind of big. Okay, the other ways you could have gotten to it. All right, so let's see. Let me highlight this again. Okay, the other ways you could have gotten to it, you go up here to Insert, and then you go over. You can either go to Charts here where it says Insert Scatter. Then when you click on it, this one is the one you want. Or you can click on Recommended Charts, and it'll pull up different ones that way, and then Scatter is at the top for that one. All right. So 3 ways that you can get to it that way. But anyway, this is not the best scatter plot. I will admit I picked this one because I figured it wasn't going to take you long to type it into Excel, right? Or Sheets, whichever one you used. I'll show you how to do this in Sheets when we get done with all 3 of them. But if you had to say whether this was positive, negative, or no correlation, what would you say?
No correlation. Positive.
See how we're kind of split? This is why this is the argument that the book makes for why you need strong and weak versions of the positives and the negatives. I get that if you said no correlation, I get it. It's very, very spread out, right? It's kind of hard to tell. However, according to the book, it is a positive. Now, where I disagree with the book vastly is that the book said, I apologize for having to turn like this. I have sprained my neck, and so I'm kind of turning around like Michael Keaton's Batman. The book said this was a strong positive scatter plot. There is no way.
Weak positive, maybe.
Yeah. So here's what you can do to check the correlation, I guess. So if you click on one of the data points, let me move my head out of the way. If you click on one of the data points and then right-click on it, there's a thing down here in Microsoft that says Add Trend Line. And what that does is it tries its best to put a straight line on this. Now, the idea behind this is if most of your data points are kind of, clustered around that line, then there is a correlation, right? And you can see here we had 8 data points. 5 of them are pretty much around the line. 3 of them are, kind of off in the outfield playing in the grass, right? Now, getting very, very technical, and this is, not something that you're going to be asked to find out. Not unless you take like an actual statistics class. There is a measurement called the R-squared value. Anybody ever heard of that before doing spreadsheets or anything like that? What it does is it calculates as much as it possibly could what the slope of this line would be. And the idea, which when I learned it, what they said was the closer it is to a whole number of 1, the more strongly correlated it is. Now, again, this is not making the argument for a strong positive because it's less than half, right? But anyway, as long as it's not like 0 or, all the way down like that, you can say that it's, there is some sort of correlation there. So in the book, the question said, draw the scatter plot and, state whether it's positive, negative, or no correlation. And then, draw a conclusion from this. And we're not really going to mess with causality or anything. But if you were going to try to, if you had to make this scatter plot for some sort of project, like if you were doing like a research paper or, submitting to a scholarly journal or something like that, and you needed some organized data, and you put this in here, if, on the surface, if somebody doesn't know what a scatter plot is, they're not going to know what this means, right? But if you had to explain it to them, you would say that the more or the higher gross domestic product that a country has, the more they are able to spend on defense, right? Now, obviously, how much they spend on defense is a choice of that country. That's why it's not linear, right? It's kind of all over the place. That one up there, I don't know. They're waiting on something bad to happen. But they are going to be ready for it one way or another, right? So there's that one. All right, let's switch over to another one. Now this one's unfortunately, it's going to take you a little bit longer to type in. It's number 26 from the textbook. If you would rather look at it in the textbook than look at it on the spreadsheet, it's right here on the textbook. It's number 26. It says the following table gives the number of home runs and batting average for baseball's most valuable players from 98 to 2012. And, each league had one, except for in 2011, because the American League MVP that year was Justin Verlander, and in the American League at the time, pitchers did not hit. None of them hit now, but that was the main thing that distinguished American League from National League, is that their pitchers were, what do you want to call it, afraid of hitting, pretty much. Yeah. I honestly think if Justin Verlander was to ever pick up a baseball bat, he would think that it's used to clean out spider webs. So what I'll do is I'll do a double box here. I'll put this here, and we'll put the, well, it ain't gonna help nobody with it being that small. Yeah. All right, yeah, whichever one is easier for you to read. And we'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes on that one. If you want to speed the process up, don't worry about putting the baseball players' names in there, because you can't put that, we're not going to be able to put that in the chart anyway. I mean, we could, but it's going to mess it up. So if you just want to do the home runs and the batting averages, that'll be fine. When you go back and watch the video on this, if you need to just see the chart, just fast forward through all this, what they call dead air, I guess. Since there's this many, once you've got them entered, you might want to double check them. Now Excel's default is, when you put these in, if it's a decimal ending in 0, it's not going to include that 0. So if it does that to you, don't think that you did something wrong. It's just a setting. The only reason it's showing over there for me is because I formatted those cells to out to 3 decimal places. All right. If you have finished entering these, raise your hand. Okay. Give you about another minute or two. I tried to copy them and just paste them into Excel, thinking that that would save some time. It did not, because it pasted it as a picture. And so then I was like, no, just paste the data. And it was like, okay. So it pasted it horizontally in one cell. I was like, this is why people don't like you, Microsoft. All right, how many are finished typing this in now? Okay. Ooh. All right. Are we ready to graph it? All right. So I'm going to go back to full screen with this. All right. So I've got it highlighted, and again, you can, whichever one that you like better. If you want to go quick analysis, you can. I'm going to go to recommended charts, and for some reason on this one, scatterplot was the second most popular one used, but it'll work out anyway. Okay, so why does that look weird? Yeah, so the minimum batting average, your minimum Y value is, Jimmy Rollins is at 296, right? But the scatter plot defaulted to where your minimum Y value was 0. That's why there's all that empty space in there. Now, we know that, from not last week, but the week before, that if your scatter plot is basically horizontal, what is it? Right. Yeah, so you can look at this and be like, well, that's just flat, right? There's nothing that's going to say that a certain batting average ties to a certain amount of home runs. There's no direct correlation. I mean, you can make an assumption that says if you have a, pretty good batting average, you're going to have at least so many home runs. But let's say that you didn't like how that looked and you want to get a better look at it. Okay, go over here and just click on any of those Y values. And then once you've got them, right click on it and go to Format Axis down here at the bottom. Move my head out of the way. So over here where it says bounds, you got a minimum and maximum. And the minimum for that, bring it up to, I'll say 250, because that's the last line before we start seeing values. Okay, so what that does is it stretches it vertically a little bit, right? And we probably could have gone to 270 and stretched it a little bit more, but I mean, you could make an argument for somewhat of a negative on there, but I mean, if it is, it's going to be the weakest of the weak, right? Because it's just barely negative. In fact, if we did the R squared on it, which would, putting the line on there, so linear R squared. The R squared on that one, if I can grab it, 0.1. That's almost 0. So that's bad, right? So yeah, there's no correlation here for that one. All right. Any questions on that one? Now, yeah.
What was the minimum
It was initially 0, but I changed it to 250. Yeah. If you put it on 270, it'll stretch it out a little bit more, but it'll still have the same R² value. So, alrighty. And then let's do 28. 28 doesn't take long at all. 28 is probably better suited for a histogram, given its X values, but we can still make a scatter plot out of it. All right. Household income versus weekly hours spent watching television. And again, if you'd rather use the values in a textbook, this is number 28 from the textbook.
Mr. English?
Yeah.
My Chrome won't connect to the internet. I don't know why.
Your Chromebook won't? Tried restarting it? You might have to sign back into the Wi-Fi if restarting it still doesn't work. My neck is killing me. You know what I did to it? I woke up wrong Friday morning. That's it. That's all I did. And it's been like this since Friday. And it's a pinched nerve because it's from here to here. It's going all the way up and down this. Yeah, it really hurts, but I got a chiropractor appointment today, so I hope to God they can get it loose. Okay. Yeah, welcome to 40, right? How did you hurt yourself? I got out of bed. Sure they did something else. Nope.
The average morning wake up.
Yeah. Okay, so this one's, I left this one in here because like I said, given the fact that the X values are technically like intervals or ranges, if you click on recommended charts for this, a scatter plot doesn't even show up. Bar graphs do, a histogram would be best, but this one you would need to just go directly to XY scatter and you can see that you can still make a scatter plot out of that. Okay? So what kind of scatter plot is that? Yeah, that one you can look at and say, okay, yeah, that's negative, right? If you did the line,
So it's a very, very weak negative.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's why we're not really fighting with strong and positive. So this one has an R² value of 0.77 or 0.8. That's almost 1, right? So if its R² value is, the closer to 1 that its R² value is, the more strongly correlated it is, right? So that one's pretty good. Now, I told you I'd show you how to do this in Google Sheets, and I will. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take this over here and just kind of, double box it again. And with this, let's go to Google Sheets. And we're just going to pull up a blank one. All right. So to save some time, I'm just going to copy all of this over. Not going to go through the trouble of typing it in again. Oh, go away. All right. Now, to get to the chart for this one, it's a little bit of a different process, okay? used to, Google Sheets was actually better for making these things, because before they updated it or whatever, there used to be down in the bottom right corner, you see where it says like sum and all that bunch of stuff? There used to be in the bottom right corner a little icon that when you clicked on it, it pulled up a pop-up window of suggested charts. And they were already pre-made. You just had to click them and drag them over. It was great. Well, I guess it was too great because it's gone. So same kind of process. Go up here to Insert, go to Chart, and for this one again, it goes to whatever the most popular chart for this type of data is, which in this case is a scatter plot. And you can see it, it looks a little bit different. It's got a little bit better of a title on it. And it actually has the, I've got it zoomed in too far, but it's got the axes labeled as well. So, whichever one you like. If you'd rather use Sheets, use Sheets. If you'd rather use Excel, use Excel. But what we're not going to do is on the 3 questions that you have, where you have to make your own scatter plot, what we are not going to do is we are not going to take what is made in Sheets or Excel and just drag it on over and say that that was our work. You can use this to check it or to get an idea of what it's supposed to look like. But you're still going to do it by hand, okay? So let's go look at that. Let's look at your student copy, all right? Is this still zoomed in? No, good, all right. So, when I made this, for some reason, it decided, okay, only 1 table and scatter plot per page is sufficient. And I could not fix it. Not without deleting the next question. So if you want to print this paper out, I would do it 2-sided because it's 4 pages. Or if you don't want to print it out, you can do 1, 2, and 3 on notebook paper and do it that way. What we're not going to do is, type it or do it in Excel, or even since we are in 2024 now, I do not want someone to use some sort of digital writer to complete their scatter plot just because it's pretty. Okay? Because I don't know if you did it. I don't know if you did it. I don't know if the person beside you did it. I don't know if a program did it. Pencil or pen, please. And then what you do from there is you can either scan it and upload it as a document that way, or you can take a picture of it and upload it as a picture. Most of y'all have probably had classes before you have to upload a file for your assignment, right? Like a paper or something like that. Same idea, okay? All right, number 1. Make a scattered, it says scattered diagram. Nobody can agree on what to call anything these days. Excuse me. Make a scatter plot for the data. Okay, so you guys know how these tables are usually set up, right? The first numerical column is your x coordinates. The second numerical column is your y coordinates, right? So you're going to look at these like ordered pairs. So your first ordered pair is going to be 9.5 and 1/2. You'll mark that, you go to the next one, and so on. And then for these, you don't even have to tell whether it's positive or negative. You just have to make it. Yeah, I literally could not make this any easier. Yet people will still find a way to try to skirt around and not do their work. It's medically fascinating. The second one, though, has a problem, all right? And I don't know why the test maker did this. I really don't. But they just really decided to be evil. And here's what they did. Okay, so this one on number 2 says the life expectancy at birth for females and the per capita GDP for 9 countries. Okay? Now, if you're just looking at this table and you're just going about your business, you're fixing to make a scatter plot, you would assume that the life expectancy are your X's and the per capita GDP are your Y's, right? Well, they decided to make a question to see if everybody was paying attention. And right here on number 2 for this, they said, that's not what we want. We want the per capita GDP going across your x-axis, and we want the life expectancy on your y-axis. So here's what that means, all right? And I'm going to go back to the Moodle page just for a moment, because I actually have this in Moodle, because you never want to assume that everybody's, watching your videos. It's not a perfect world. Okay. On the student copy for number 3, on this question, the X and Y columns are reversed on the graph. You need to use per capita GDP as your X and life expectancy at birth as your Y. Otherwise, your scatter plot will be incorrect. It'll be inverted, right? So what you need to do is you need to take this one, move it over here, and then just mark this out. Because then that will become your X, and then that will become your Y. Okay? Easy fix. Then make your scatter plot, because if you don't, it's going to be inverted. And that is the most commonly missed question on this assignment. But on number 3, everything's fine. All right, everything's back the way it should be. You got your unemployment rate and the median rent for your apartment in dollars. Remember when we said back when we were doing the statistics lesson that more businesses and companies are starting to use their median of their data for their indicator as opposed to the mean, because the median doesn't include huge outliers, right? So there's another example of that. So yeah, unemployment rate is your X, rent is your Y. So 1, 2, and 3 are the only ones that you need to turn in like a hard copy of. Okay? The other ones, 4 through 12, which by the way, in the actual Moodle assignment, they're going to be renumbered. They're not going to be 4 through 12. They'll be 1 through 9. And they're going to be shuffled up. So if you want to just answer them on here and then do them in there, you can. It's more of these questions where it's like, what kind of correlation would this make? If you start doing this and you think to yourself, I just answered this question 2 weeks ago, you probably did. Because the question bank for these types of questions is very shallow. So this is a pretty easy assignment. All right, it's just a nice little easy wrap up to the end of this section that, if I'm being honest, I just don't like. I don't like probability. I never have. So on Thursday when y'all come in, we are going to be going back over the first lesson, the second lesson, getting you ready for your test. All right? This one's not too bad. Just, again, I cannot stress this enough. Do the scatter plots by hand. You can either do them on this document here, or you can do them on notebook paper. All right? Don't use a digital, don't use Paint, Microsoft Paint, or whatever it is you have on your phone to do this. I can tell from looking across the class, someone was like, oh, that's what I was going to use. No. Pencil or pen, please. And you can check it in Excel or Sheets. But don't be like, don't wait until the 8th day that this is due. Like, oh no, I ain't got time to do this by hand. Excel, copied over, maybe he'll take it. No, he won't. You'll get a 0 on every single one that you do that on. One thing to keep in mind, on the work entry, it tells you how many points each scatter plot is worth. Because I've split each one of these up into 50 points apiece. Okay? So the first question is worth 16, and then 2 and 3 are worth 17. So let's say that you inverted number 2. You didn't fix it. Well, then you're in trouble. Right? Or let's say if you just did all 3 of them in Excel and just copy it over, that's an even bigger problem. Okay? And then in this entry, you're going to find 4 through 12, but they're going to be renumbered as 1 through 9. Again, there's no work. You just read the scenario, state whether it's positive, negative, or not, and then this really won't take you that long. It's not designed to. Okay? any questions about what's due tonight or what's due next week?
The only thing is for 1, 2, and 3, like, there is the thing where it says to attach a file.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you click on, because I'm not a student, so I don't know, let's see. On the student end, it'll say like add submission or something, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to add the submission, when you pull it up, it'll have like, a place to pull the file from or add a new file, stuff like that. It's actually really easy to upload it from your phone if you just want to take a picture of it. If you don't know how to do that, I can show you how to do that before you leave. But if you're good, then, just do what you got to do. All right. We will see you guys on Thursday. Let's hope to God this video uploads.